freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for the Sentry Tournament of Champions storylines and bets, which you're certainly going to want to stay tuned for that new format for bets in 2020. And joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. KP, what's up?
I think I might just stand for all of 2021. After I stood for the podcast when I lost to Greg, and I was so wired after that trivia contest, which is like the nerdy. I came in and told my wife, she was like, "You've got problems. This is a problem."
You didn't make her watch it, did you? You didn't like run it back and make her watch it.
Sometimes I'll do the thing where, because the kids, we usually watch like a Dude Perfect video at night. Yeah. And this will come across my feed, and she's like, "You're watching yourself again, aren't you?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm studying. I'm trying to figure out what was good." Yeah.
Grinding film.
She's not a fan.
Greg DuCharme, our trivia champion, is here. Greg, what's up, my dude?
Well, this little title has lasted a little longer than I thought. So, Kyle, thank you for bringing it up, because I'm fine with it. We can go with that all year until the next edition on New Year's Eve, 2021. But I will say I was talking to my wife about that trivia for up until yesterday, I think. So we've been having a lot of discussions about it. It's been fun.
Greg victory lapped it on Monday's pod. If anybody listens there, we were also talking about it. So, and Jonathan Coachman, the coach, is here. Your very first mega preview pod on a Tuesday. We're happy to have you, Coach.
Well, I need to have a disclaimer for Greg and Kyle. I used to talk to my wife about all the shows that I did. I'm now divorced. So take that for what it's worth. I would tell you not to do it. But I'm excited to be here. And I know that I'm starting a little bit late with some of the contests, but rest assured, the guys need the head start because I'm going to catch them by February or March. But it's okay. Let's go.
We're going to get you up to speed on all the picks and the one and done stuff. But first, we're going to talk about storylines. And my storyline, I'm trying to decide if it's a real storyline or not. And it's Jon Rahm's equipment change. Notoriously leaving TaylorMade in the offseason, heading to Callaway, Kyle. And I know, I know he's had time to be dialed in. I know that these guys don't just show up and grab new clubs on the first tee. I think there's a little bit of something to it when you put your new sticks in play in a tournament competition. But can this simultaneously be a story and a non-story?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, who are the big names that have done it in the 5 or 6 years? I guess, yeah, so Rose,
Garcia,
Rory,
Francesco Molinari,
13 or 14. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes we make a bigger deal out of it than players do. But then because we're asking about it, it gets in their heads as well. It's a weird thing that you're right. I think a good way to describe it is a story and a non-story. And look, if Rahm goes out and finishes top 5, hopefully we never talk about it again. But if he shoots a 77 one day and it's, maybe a little windy or whatever, then all of a sudden it's like, it's a headline on golfchannel.com. So I don't know. It remains to be seen.
So Kyle, I want to hit on this real quick because Kyle brought something up where I don't believe that this week determines whether or not this is a story. I say that for a few reasons. 2 guys we mentioned before, Francesco Molinari and Justin Rose, they switched equipment when they were at the peak or near peak of their careers.
Rose was the number 1 player in the world, by the way.
Number 1 player in the world. He switched. It may have been his first event back. If it wasn't, it was a second event back, and he wins the Farmers. And I was big at that time on this is a huge mistake for Justin Rose. He shouldn't be doing this. He wins the first event and it throws egg in my face, but we all know what happened since, and it's gone sideways. And Francesco Molinari won his first event with new equipment at the API a couple of years ago. He was coming off of the season of his career, no question about it. So I think it takes a little bit of time, but the thing with an equipment change is it's the one shot that you don't expect. The one shot you don't explain, or you can't explain as a player, that throws you off, and all of a sudden there's doubt. And now you start to wonder as a player. And when you start to wonder as a player, that's when it becomes a story for us to talk about.
The good news for
no, go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
The good news for Rom, he already has about one of those shots per round. So
It usually comes on 15.
but don't you guys all think that the reason it's a big story is because anytime a top 5 player does this, especially when they're coming off playing really well, I can almost understand it if a top 5 player is having a bad year or a bad 18 months, but that's not Jon Rahm. And also you say, okay, it's a big payday for that. Well, Jon Rahm's already making a ton of money at TaylorMade and wherever else he's going to go. I go back to when Brooks Koepka was offered big money a couple of years ago. Remember, he's playing like 3 wedges from this company and 3 wedges from that company. And he's like, why would I change this right now when I'm winning all these majors and all these tournaments? That should be the mindset if you're a top flight player when you do this.
Jonathan, you're right on. Because there's a general rule that I have with my players, and this is at every level to me. You don't switch equipment when you're playing very, very well, and you don't switch equipment when you're playing very, very poorly. If you got something in your swing that's completely messed up and you're lost, adding in equipment change isn't a good idea. But at the same time, if you're hot and you're the number 2 player in the world or the number 1 player in the world, it's probably not a good idea to make a change at that point either. And to the finance part of this, look at what happened to Justin Rose. He won the FedEx Cup. Okay, that's a $10 million bonus. So you can add that to all of his past career earnings that he earned with his company. And the company that you're playing with now, unless you're a free agent like a Francesco Molinari or Brooks Koepka or somebody like that who doesn't have an equipment deal, you're getting paid on that original deal. So what's the increase is just the difference. And I have a hard time I have a hard time believing that the payment increase is going to be worth what you can make if you're playing at the level Jon Rahm is playing, where you're contending for a FedEx Cup. So I don't think there's a huge financial gain.
But it's arrogance. It's the confidence that I can go out and I can beat you with old Tom Morris's sticks, right? Yeah. And like if you're confident enough to get to top 10 in the world, you're confident enough to say, yeah, I'll switch from TaylorMade to Callaway. That's not going to affect me. And maybe it won't, but maybe it will. I don't know. And
confidence
maybe we've already given this too much time. Maybe Rahm wins this week.
No, we haven't, because guess what? The other thing we're not thinking about. Who's the one guy that made this happen?
Tiger.
Rory?
No, Phil Mickelson. He made this happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So clearly John listened to Phil, who's been a Callaway guy forever, and he says, come be the guy. You're going to be the next guy. Once I get done, you're going to be it. You know that's the conversation that was had.
Yeah, it's a good point.
We'll see. Obviously, this is a long-term story. I'm more interested that he's now wearing Travis Matthew. He's going to look a little bit different out on the course as well. KP, let's go to your storyline for the week. Kapalua, is it safe to say, I don't know how to say this, is one of the most unique courses that we get on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, it's definitely, it feels more like a European Tour track than a PGA Tour course. The European Tour goes to such unique places and just, kind of weird, different places. And Kapalua is, it's interesting because it's a facsimile of Augusta in a lot of ways. The thing that you'll hear people talk about this week is just the uneven lies, and you got to be athletic to hit the ball there. Spieth has talked about that's why he loves that place. He hadn't been in a while, but that's why he loves it, because he has to let his body and his athleticism take over when you've got those uneven lies like at Augusta National. So I think that part of it's fascinating. It's long, it's super wide, and I think my big story, or not my big, one of my storylines for this week coming in is, so we've been talking about distance a ton because of Bryson, right? And all the guys at the top. And I think when we think about distance, you've got guys like Keith Mitchell on the No Lane Up podcast said, hey, make it longer. I want it to be as long as humanly possible, because that gives me even more of an advantage over a Zach Johnson or a Jim Furyk or whoever. But making it long and wide seems like it would help those guys that are really long. But you go back to Winged Foot, it was long and really narrow, and that helped Bryson. That helped Matthew Wolff. I almost think, and you look at the top guy, the guys that have contended. I mean, Steve Stricker's won this event. Martin Laird has had a lot of success. I mean, Spieth is one here. Guys that are not that long have had a lot of success at Kapalua, and I think it's because it is so wide. It's just you bring everybody into play, and it's a lot easier. The advantage that the long guys have, I think, is a lot greater when there's a ton of rough and it's really narrow than when it's super wide like this. So I think, I don't know, I'm interested to see the way that is kind of framed throughout the rest of the week.
I think Bryson actually said Winged Foot was too narrow because the accurate hitters were still missing fairways and there wasn't that edge there, right? That was one of the comments he made after.
Yeah, and when everybody's missing fairways, the advantage you have when you're 30 yards up in the rough is it's exponential, because all of a sudden you're hitting a 9-iron, Brian Harmon's hitting a 4-iron, and a 4-iron at Winged Foot out of the rough is not good. I mean, that's you're not going to do anything with that, right? And so I think that's sort of what I'm talking about when it's super narrow. It almost gives more of an advantage to the DJs, the Brysons, the Matt Wolfs than when it's really wide like this.
But 7,600 yards, Coach. I'll tee you up on this one. 7,600 yards at Kapalua. It's a par 73, and there's a lot of elevation change. There's going to be a lot of calculations in play this week. So I wonder if experience helps a bit for guys that might have knocked it around there a few times.
Well, I think when you look at this, especially for new golf bettors or new viewers that haven't watched this tournament a lot in the past, I think part of the reason that Kyle makes so many good points is there's a lot of hidden yardage that we don't talk about when they play this tournament, right? So, I mean, Dustin Johnson nearly has a hole-in-one on a 400 and some odd par 4, yeah. Right? So because of the hills and everything, a lot of these young or smaller hitters, if they hit it in the right spots, can get 80 or 100 yards roll. And I think it's not a sexy storyline when you're a network getting ready for coverage, so they don't talk about it. But it absolutely matters where your ball ends up, not where your ball lands.
Greg, you and I actually talked a bit about this on Monday's DFS preview pod, which is the short hitters are not out of this if they hit the right side of the fairway, because Coach is right. It'll roll 60, 70, 80 yards, get you down into a proper landing area. You can play from there, but it can be an uphill battle if you're short and not hitting those spots.
Right. You do have to. And the other thing is the fairways are wide for a reason. And the fairways aren't just tilted because of, Kyle mentioned uneven lies, right? That means that they're tilted left to right and right to left. They're not just straight up and straight down. So as wide as they are, you got to get it to the proper half or quarter or section of the fairway, and you can get a tremendous amount of roll. The shot Coach brought up, Dustin Johnson, that was a 433. I believe it was 433, that hole. And his ball carried about between 320 and 330, if I remember correctly. It got over 100 yards of roll. And that's a portion of that is wind and a portion of that is slope. So as wind picks up, and if the golf course is firm, you're absolutely right. Short hitters are very much in play, and the fairways become something. The width becomes needed because the ball travels so far on the ground, and at that point, you lose a little bit of control to some degree.
One of the most criminal.
Brando called the Dustin Johnson drive the greatest shot in golf history.
Okay. I was going to say the most criminal thing I've ever seen was that ball slamming on the brakes 6 inches before the cup.
It was like the top three were Hogan's 1-iron, Tiger chipping in on 16, and DJ driving a ball 430 yards at Kapalua in like the second round of it. Yeah.
He had a 6-shot lead. It was on the 12th hole.
That tweet still exists. Go find it.
It's true. Yeah, you're right. He did.
So good. Coach, your storyline is centered around one Justin Thomas. And I think this is really interesting because we might be at the point with all of the oxygen that we spend on Bryson DeChambeau, all of the oxygen we spend on Dustin Johnson, that JT, he's certainly not forgotten, but does he enter 2021 with just a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, trying to kind of assert himself back into everybody's brains?
No, I don't think he has a little chip on his shoulder. I think he has a big chip on his shoulder, because this is a guy, he's a killer. There's not a bigger killer on the PGA Tour. You talk about anybody. I was just in Jupiter 3 weeks ago. Anybody will tell you in the games down there that they're playing or any other time, look, he's talking trash with Charlie Woods, for God's sake. This is a guy that hates to lose. He wants to step on your neck every single time. How many guys are shooting 15 under on a Sunday with their dad in December? That's how much how competitive he is. And I guarantee you, behind closed doors, as nice as he is, and as much as he says good things about other people, he is sick and tired of guys like us saying Dustin Johnson is dominant and it's everybody else. So I think that's a big-time storyline to see him come out on Thursday and set a tone right from the jump, because he is tired. He wants to get back in the conversation.
Coach, I'm going to fill you in on a little something that's been going on here at the First Cut Pod for the last 6 months or so, and Kyle's going to hate this. But KP said in the next decade, this decade that we're in right now, Justin Thomas would win 25 times, and he made a wine bet with Mark Immelman about it. KP, what's he at now? 2, 3? How many does he have?
Hold on. I'm doing the math right here. He's
Not on the index card.
Is it expensive wine, by the way? Expensive wine?
It's getting more expensive every time we bring it up.
By the time it's 2030, the interest is going to have accumulated. So
Well,
that's
age. I mean, it's aging as we go. So I mean, this bottle is 10 years older.
He's got 2 wins. He's got I just looked it up. 11. He's won 11 of his last 91. So that's basically, what is that? 2, 4, 6, 11. That's
12%.
3 a year for the last 4 years. So I don't feel terrible about it. I mean, he won 5 times in a year, which helps. I think the thing that I always go back to with JT that Coach hit on is he's wired differently than he's wired more like Tiger than I think a lot of the younger guys. And that is something that he'll probably, like, you have to rein that in on a personal level, like to be a normal human. And I think he's done that. But on the course, he's kind of like psycho. And I mean that in a very complimentary way. Like he's the guy that, and Rahm's a little bit like that too, I think. But I think JT just wants to be great so bad that it feels like he's not gonna be the guy that reaches $200 million and he wins a couple majors and it's like, well, I guess that, it's been fun. Like he doesn't care about what he did. He only cares about what's in the future. And I think that's the thing that I always go back to with him. That is the reason I made that bet, which is maybe not aging the best.
Yeah, you get the sense that with like have you seen the Tom Brady video where his coach at Michigan tells the story, all the championship rings you have, and Brady asked him, which one's your favorite? And he said the next one. Yeah. And that's kind of the feeling that you get with JT.
Yeah.
He loves me some me, certainly.
I forgot about that.
That's the best ever, right? Like
so good.
I love him so much. I hope he wins 35 times.
The 2019 President's Cup was low-key the best tournament ever. It was awesome.
I can't dispute it. It was phenomenal.
So it was, and part of it you're up at midnight or 2 in the whatever, and it was a blast.
And part of it was expectations, right? I mean, it was very competitive throughout the entire thing, which not a lot of President's Cups have been. And you got great moments from Tiger, great moments from JT. The young guys on the international squad played well. Like it was legit awesome. And Royal Melbourne was phenomenal.
Yeah, Royal Melbourne was sweet.
One more storyline. Mr. DuCharme, I believe it's yours. And it involves Patrick Reed. I've heard of him and his past success here. And I like your angle on this, which is kind of a Ryder Cup angle, which, Ryder Cup year, baby. Let's go.
So this view for this week. It's the first event of 2021. As I like to say, the 2020-2021 season.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It's the first event in this portion. And Rick, just like your story, to me, both of these are long term. I think the Patrick Reed situation is a little bit longer term than Jon Rahm's equipment change, but both of these are going to take some time. But Patrick Reed right now is 8th in the Ryder Cup standings. But this year, with the entire situation that's going on, the Americans are going to have 6 players make the team and 6 captain selections. So he's sitting at 8. I think he has an opportunity to really solidify his place in that top 6, and a win this week would go a long way. You get 1.5 points starting this week. You get 1.5 points per every $1,000 that you make. So a win goes a long way and nearly locks him in. But if he doesn't succeed and this week doesn't go his way and weeks start getting past him and he's in that 8, 10, 12 spot, I think a huge storyline emerges. Where is Patrick Reed going to be a captain selection? And I think the Americans for a long time have kind of gone chalk with their captain's picks. And it's been well, he deserves it, instead of kind of a Herb Brooks mentality. I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. And I've always wondered if we were going to shift our mindset to, I need to build the perfect team here. And I wonder if Patrick Reed has a place in that.
That's a really interesting concept. And Coach, one of the things that we've talked about a bit on this pod, and I want to get your thoughts on, is the idea around Patrick Reed being this kind of low-key big game hunter, right? Like I'm going to try to do this off the top of my head. 8 PGA Tour wins, 2 of them are playoff events. 2 of them are WGCs. 1 is a Tournament of Champions and 1 is a Masters. So 6 of your 8 PGA Tour victories are like legitimate events. Like this guy shows up when the best players in the world converge on the same course.
If Patrick Reed is not added, if he's not in the top 6 and he's not added, there is not, maybe JT is the only other guy that I would put in the category of when they walk on the course, they want to beat you in the head. And to me, that's what you want in a President's Cup player. That's what you want in a Ryder Cup player. And the fact that these guys are letting their personal feelings get in the way over a guy that can go on any course because of his short game and compete in the top 10. And the fact that he was so vocal about the fact that Jordan Spieth was not put with him the last time as much as he should have. They've got to get these personal feelings out of the way and stop being buddy-buddy and stop and get the right guys for the team. And you're not going to tell me on any level that Patrick Reed is not a guy that should be on every team for the next 5 years. You just can't convince me of that.
I love this take. I disagree with it, but I love it.
Respectfully, thank you.
I think it's a great take, and I think that are we really talking about the Ryder Cup right now?
No, we're not. President's Cup. President's Cup.
Yeah, we just talked about the President's Cup for like 5 minutes.
Now we're under Ryder Cup. We are. We really are.
I just don't know. Part of me agrees with Coach because I feel like the U.S. there's no galvanization. Everybody's just a lone wolf and they do their own deal and it doesn't ever mesh well. And it's like Europe is so galvanized for, 1 week out of the year, every 2 years. It's not like they don't have big names and big egos. You've got Rory, you've got Justin Rose, you've got Sergio. All these guys, but for some reason, somehow they just galvanize around one another for this common good. And the U.S. can't figure out how to do that. And part of me feels like it's a Patrick Reed problem, but then the other part of me, it sort of agrees with Coach, where it's like, just freaking figure it out and don't stop, leaking things. And I don't know. It does seem like Reed is often the biggest offender in that stuff, though.
Here's what I know about Patrick Reed for this week. Not in Maui on vacation. He is in Maui to win. He wants to hoist that little whale tail trophy, whatever that thing is, on Sunday evening. I've seen that thing in person. I've been there. My buddy had a wedding at Kapalua, and it looked right out, and they had the trophy. That's very nice. He wants to get his paws on that on Sunday evening. Gentlemen, new segment. Whew. We got a new segment coming up. We have introduced essentially our betting cards for the week. So I'm going to explain that. We're going to have expert picks. We're going to get into our one and done leads, but we're going to do it on the other side. And first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Here we go. $100 each for us to spend at William Hill. We've each gone through the process of putting together a betting card. We can divvy that money up however we like, whether it's matchups, outrights, first round leaders, get a little freaky with it. And we're going to keep track of it throughout the year. So Greg, real quick, how was this difficult? How did you enjoy this process?
I did enjoy the process because one, it's a great idea because it really opens up the card. It opens up your strategies. So now we can kind of see how everybody's going to tact what we have off, what William Hill offers to us. So we have that opportunity in front of us. And I think as a concept, it opens up a lot. I think Coach will have some different strategies than Kyle and myself and Rick, of course. Fascinated to see what kind of strategies you bring to the table here. But I always like to pick on the weak cornerback in an off. That's my strategy. I like to take the easy ones and I like to just claw away at them. So my first one, and I went pretty heavy on this, half of my allotted units, 50 units went to Lanto Griffin, and it's Lanto Griffin to finish in the top 20. There's 42 players. He's got to come in the top half, and I put 50 on it at plus 150. So 50 to win 125. I think it's a great number. I think Lanto Griffin is as steady, as consistent as it gets, and I think the course is a really good fit for him.
What I
You feel
noticed
good about having half your money on Lanto Griffin?
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
I think I've been guilty of that before, so I can't speak too much on this, Greg. I'm all in. Oh, you got it.
Lanto's he is better than he's in this strange place where the perception of Lanto Griffin and his real ability and his real performance, there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yes.
And he sits in the positive side of it. So in a DFS perspective, in a top 20 type of perspective, I love Lanto Griffin. Am I going to bet him to win? Not very often. Maybe never. But I love when I have this kind of wide range and I can get a number like plus 150. So I think Lanto Griffin top 20 finish is, as we used to say, my best bet of the week.
Greg is spending too much time with me with the Lanto Griffin takes. The rest of Greg's card is Hideki Matsuyama top 10 finish at plus 110. He put 20 on that. Joaquin Niemann top 10 at plus 230. He put another 20 on that. Also, he spent $110. So this isn't
wow.
Justin, he's got
you can't do
right?
math. You can't do math.
He's got Justin Thomas and Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh, I think I did an incorrect bet. I think Joaquin Niemann was supposed to be 10 as well.
Already out of the gate, he spends half his money and then tries to make it up on the back end by breaking the rules. There's a couple of errors here. So I have on my personal screenshot here, I have 50 on Lanto, I have 20 on Hideki, I have 10, and then I have 10, 10, 10. So that is 100. So I have 10 on JT or Bryson. That's a cool one, I think. JT or Bryson to win double chance plus 350. I put a little bit on that, and 10 on Bryson plus 120 over Dustin Johnson. So I'm in the math. The math is right there. So now we've got 100. Obviously, Greg, big believer in Lanto and Bryson this week. Right, that seems to be the trend here.
Yeah, I really like the distance, so I think that's going to be an advantage for him.
All right, let's pull up Coach's betting card, and I'll run through this real quick, Coach, and then you can give me your thoughts on it. We've got a Dustin Johnson top 5 at plus 138. That's 15 of your 100. Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas, a couple of big boys in a double chance, either one of them to win at plus 260, 10 on that. Kevin Kisner in a matchup against Sergio Garcia.
I love that.
I'll tell you what, you put those two guys together, they'd be one hell of a player. 25 to win 23. Cameron Smith over Mark Leishman. This also made my card, Coach. And then Patrick Reed over John Rahm. So talk me through your thoughts here.
So my thoughts is I want to do a combination of enough really good bets that I can talk trash every week, but also a lot of bets I really, really feel good about it that are going to come in. I also wanted some plus money, but also William Hill. And it's just not because we're partners with them. I've never seen on any other book, and maybe because I haven't bet on a lot of different books, I've never seen the double chance before. And I loved having the chance to pick two winners in one bet. I don't see that a lot. So I wanted to throw that in. I saw Greg did that as well. And then also when it comes to the matchups, Kevin Kisner's hot. I picked guys that are hot. Cameron Smith, second at the Masters. And I think Patrick Reed just loves this course. We've talked about it. I think he's hungry to prove a point. That's how I came to my matchup bets. And I'm always going to put the most units on my matchups.
Yes, that's certainly the safer way to do it. I love the double chance as well. You have to be a bit careful. I think you're good here, but I was looking at, William Hill had Hideki and Patrick Reed double chance, and it was like 7.5 to 1, and you would have been better off splitting the bet and betting them individually.
You got to look at it. You got to
do the math. Pay attention. Pay attention. I'll go to my card here, producer Jacob, because I actually have one of the bets that Coach did as well, which is Cam Smith over Mark Leishman. Those two have taken divergent paths over the course of 2020, and especially since the restart. Cameron Smith trending up and to the right, Mark Leishman trending down and to the right. And then I went with a couple of outrights. So I don't know. And KP, I'll be interested to see what you do here. I've got Hideki to win at 18 to 1 and Patrick Reed to win at 16 to 1. I'm going for big chunks here, right? The matchups can keep you alive, can build you week over week, but if I come out of the gate, it'll help the old bankroll.
Why is Ryan Palmer Is that right? 20 to 126.
So I did the net. I didn't know if producer Jacob wanted like the gross or the net. So technically, like if you bet 20 at 2-1, in theory, you'd like in the app it says you get 60 back, which is not true. You'd win 40 on that.
40.
So I did net. So I would win 26 on that.
So why didn't Greg say Lonto was 50 to 125 or something?
I think his numbers might have been. Well, no, then he netted it out, and it was maybe that number was wrong. So we had Lonto at 50 to win 55. It would actually be to win 75.
Yeah,
Right.
we did.
Okay, that was gross. I had the gross in there, I guess, right?
We did not do the potential payout, is what they'll call it in the bookmaker. So just the true net.
Okay.
I wanted to avoid this, so I didn't put anything on mine. I didn't put 20 to win anything because I knew I'd be confused.
I looked and saw what everybody else was rolling with when I threw it in there. But so I went with
I love the Morikawa one.
Okay. Greg and I talked about this on Monday. I think Morikawa is arguably the most undervalued DFS guy this week. Because listen, and Kyle, you're here. We didn't talk yesterday. Let's talk about this. No one has any recent form, right? 3.5 weeks, no professional competitive tournaments. We have no idea what these guys have been doing. If we start looking at long-term form, Morikawa is the most undervalued guy, like in the field, whether it's outright numbers, whether it's fantasy, because people are looking at more recently. But if you give him 3.5 weeks to go out to Summit Club and grind some irons, I think he's going to be okay.
I think we know what DJ's not been doing.
I'm certain DJ has not been grinding. So there's my card, Kyle. Let's go to your card. And I've got it up right here.
For everybody else in the field, you're right. We don't know. I got carried away. Yeah.
You placed the most here. So I'm just going to read the first four. We'll talk through those. Xander Schauffele, top 5 at 2-1, 15 on that. Victor Hovland plus 220. And this is a 3-ball, I believe, with Bryson DeChambeau and Patrick Cantlay. And then Hideki in a 3-ball with DJ and Rahm. So let's talk about those first.
Yeah, Hideki's got a great history here, right? I know you saw that when you were doing your research. Hovland was hard for me because you're right. There's not, like, nobody's played recently. He did win most recently, but I also bet against him later on in the card. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here.
You give Kyle $100 and he goes crazy on William Hill. The rest of his card looks like Scotty Scheffler in a 3-ball versus Kevin Na and Mac Hughes. I like that a lot. That's plus 115. Joaquin Niemann over Daniel Berger. We've got a lot of Patrick Reed love this week. You've got him over John Rahm. And then you have Bryson over DJ. Let's talk about that one specifically. So you're getting plus money on Bryson DeChambeau. You laid 15 of your $100 hairs on big, beefy Bryson.
Yeah, this is less about Bryson and more about, like, DJ missed the cut at Colonial after the restart, right? Because he had been on his boat and not playing golf. And I don't know, maybe he has been playing golf, but this is more a bet against DJ, even though he has played well here in the past. So maybe that's a bad argument. But I know Bryson's been grinding. We see him in the Chris Como's living room every other day. And
did you see what he did today? See? Okay. He was hitting putts about an hour and a half ago on the putting green, and he had someone with an umbrella walking as his putt is rolling towards the cup with an umbrella down at ground level. And the commentary is that he was seeing how much the wind would impact his putts. It is a sight to behold, my friends.
Speaking of psychos, there's exhibit 1A. So yeah, I don't, I'm betting on that one. I'm betting more, I think, against DJ than I am for Bryson. Although I'm interested to see how Bryson plays here.
Kyle rounds out his card with Tony Finau over Victor Hovland. We will here it is. Here's the Bryson stuff. Watch this. He hits a putt. Guy walks with it. This is insane.
You've got to be kidding me.
Right? That is, I couldn't figure out what he was doing. I turned the sound on. They're guessing that he's doing it to see how the wind, Greg, like what this is a lot.
So the only thing I can imagine is they're putting into the wind and they want to get into a vacuum, more or less. So they're going to compare what happens in without the umbrella to what happens with that umbrella blocking some of the wind, and they'll see what kind of speed difference it is. Because Bryson's a guy who paces off every putt. He knows how far. I mean, he's the human shot link, right? He knows exactly how far each putt is, and he uses that to calculate his speed control.
Okay.
So
I don't want to get down a Bryson. I don't want to get down a Bryson weather hole here. But then if he's trying to walk it off, he's gonna have to know what the mile per hour on the wind is when he gets like. So is he carrying like he can't carry some type of device? Is he just gonna guess it's 10 miles?
I imagine he guesstimates. Maybe that would be my only guess. Because at some look, who knows? I'm not on his level.
Real quick, since we're on Bryson, did everybody see the soundbite? He already had the soundbite of the year when he was practicing in that PGA Tour sound where he says, I love to fail. I don't learn anything from succeeding except that I can succeed, but I love to fail. And I would say I call BS on that. Every time he fails, he yells at somebody. The camera guy, caddy, fans. And I just think he just says stuff that comes to his head, not really thinking about what he actually says or does or what it's going to look like.
Interesting. I'll say one thing on that, Coach. I think he's an emotional guy. So I think when you see like what the meltdown that happened at the Open Championship a couple years ago, right? These are emotions that happen in the moment, but it's passion. But he always comes back from it and he always seems to improve. So maybe he doesn't like it in the moment, but when he sits down and goes back to the lab and figures it out, my guess is that that's what he's referring to.
You might be onto something. You might be
I always forget about that Open meltdown. I mean, it's his Mona Lisa. It is the paintbrushes splayed all over the range. Him just up against the fence. Just he can't handle the. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
Well, anyway, we're gonna keep track of those bets all year long. We'll keep a little bankroll and keep track of our results. But we are gonna go back and we'll run through these fairly quickly here. Our expert picks and our one and done lean. So we're gonna start with our sleepers, Coach. Your first ever Tuesday pod sleeper for the Sentry Tournament of Champions is who?
Yeah, I'm really honored. I'll make it fast because Billy Horschel, he the only reason he's in this tournament, and for people who don't know, they say, why is there 42 guys? Because anybody that went to the Tour Championship got a qualification for the first time ever, right? So Billy's in the tournament. He's been playing well. He made it to Tour Championship. I think he's a sleeper this week. I think he could really do some things.
The putter's always scary. When he gets that going, watch out. He's 66-1. Greg, your sleeper, someone we talked a lot about on the Monday pod. I like this. He's 80-1. Who is it?
Yeah, Ryan Palmer. And part of the reason I like Ryan Palmer is he's great in the weather. He's a really, really solid driver of the ball. He's a nice iron player, a well-rounded player who had, as we talked about yesterday, Rick, an extremely consistent season across the board. And sometimes when you see that, guys develop a little bit of confidence and they find one thing when they're home on the putting green. And Ryan Palmer, the way he hits it is a great putting week away from a win. And I like that element for a guy at 80-1.
By the way, Greg already picked Abraham Answer to win next week. I don't know if that is actually on the record, but I agreed with it too. I was like, that's a great, as soon as those numbers come out, I'm like, click Abraham.
And hopefully it doesn't have too much of an effect on the numbers.
You want him to finish like T13 this week. Don't do anything crazy. You don't win this thing. Keep that number nice and long. KP, your sleeper is about as sleepy as you can get in a field like this. He's 150-1.
Yeah, Marty Laird, 150-1. He finished second here back in, I think, 2012 when Steve Stricker won. And he's just, I mean, it's such a long shot, but you've only got to beat 41 guys. It sounds so easy. And he's been playing well. He won late in the fall or October, I think is when he won.
Yeah, Shriner.
Yeah, so it's not like he won back in January and he's been playing terrible. He's played well recently. So yeah, 150-1. I'm put some units on it.
I snapped up Cam Smith for my pick. 4 consecutive events in a row, improving his finish, including a runner up at the Masters. Only one place to improve from second, which is first this week. Top 10. Let me see if anybody. Oh, we've got 4 different picks. This is very interesting. Coach, your top 10 lock for the Sentry Tournament of Champions.
I'm going off a recent play, and I know that first timers there's 7 of them. They've never won at this event. It's kind of like first timers at the Masters, right? But I think Victor Hovland is a guy that says, I don't care where I'm playing. I'm going to go out and I'm going to play my game and I'm going to play well. We saw he won in the fall. Then he jumped halfway across the world. And we're all saying, well, we got to fade him this week. He's tired this week. And he went out and had another great finish. So there's no reason for me to believe that this is going to stop this week here. I think a top 10 is a very safe pick for Hovland.
I'll tell you what, Victor Hovland had a lot of success on a lot of courses you saw for the first time already in his young career. Greg, this guy got called with a hot mic here last year. We were at the 1-year anniversary of Patrick Cantlay's hot mic moment. He is your top 10 lock. Talk to me.
So I think he has a nice finish last year. It was fourth or seventh. I picture it in my mind. I'm not sure which. Anyway, top 10 last year. So which was very good. And I think part of this, Rick, is I saw the spreadsheet and I had this in my mind, who I was going to pick, who my top 10, who my winner is, who my sleeper is. And I saw you and I had too many similarities. So I went with a very similar player to your top 10 as far as the fingerprint is concerned. So I went Patrick Cantlay, great ball striker, knows the course. I think he's going to be very comfortable with the uneven lies and have a great week this week.
Well, the guy that you're referencing that I went with is Hideki Matsuyama. 3 trips to Maui, no worse than a T4. I don't like to get into the narrative, but I really do think that 2021 is such a big year for Hideki. He's going to try to peak for the Olympics. It's going to be good stuff. So I'll take him at plus money to finish in the top 10. And Kyle, I actually did a double take. I thought this was Greg's pick to finish in the top 10, but who do you have as your lock?
I've got Tony Finau. I wanted to pick him to win, but as we've learned, that's usually not a good choice. He finished, although it would be apropos if he won in an event he wasn't supposed to be at.
So ironic.
He finished T9 in 2017, and this is the kind of course that it just is made for him, right? Like, because not only can he just hit it forever, but also his athleticism. And I think this is why he plays well at Augusta. I mean, 1, because he's a great player, but 2, because of his athleticism to handle the uneven lies, handle some of the wind and the wonkiness. I'm excited about watching him this week. I think he's gonna play really well.
Now that Victor Hovland has snapped the Puerto Rico Open curse, let's just get this Tony Finau one out of the way, Greg. Let's just do it right now and move on.
It'd be hilarious if if he won this event and got into it again next year because he was in the top 30 and there was kind of the asterisk entry. It'd be hilarious.
Yes,
but I'm rooting for him. Hey, it'd be great.
You'd be laughing all the way to the bank, Coach. Your pick to win, and I guess we should have seen this coming, a bit of foreshadowing from our storylines. Who do you have to win this week?
Every time I tell anybody that listens to me or pays attention to me that if you're going to bet a winner in golf, you never play a less than plus 1,000 or plus 1,500. And even then, those are too low odds to bet a lot. But like we talked about earlier, I feel like Justin Thomas has something to prove. Now, I understand you could walk down the streets of New York, ask all 8 million people who live there, who was the last player to repeat at the Sentry Tournament of Champions, and not one person would give you the right name. I get it, Jeff Ogilvy. But this is the year. After 11 years, we're going to have our very first repeat winner right here in January. Book it, Justin Thomas.
It's funny you mention the short odds. I have not looked this up in a while, but I did this a couple of months ago. Basically, 50% of all PGA Tour events are won by guys who are 12-1 or shorter. Like the big boys win golf tournaments. Now there's sometimes 3 or 4 of them in a field and you don't know which one exactly, but I'll have to run those numbers again. It's
okay,
50%. So good call there, Coach. Greg, I'm going to put a pin in yours because you and I have the same pick to win. I'm going to go to Kyle, who this guy was a one and done consideration for me, but I've already used him. Who is it?
Patty Reed.
Yeah, baby.
He's won here before. Kind of quietly ended the fall playing really well. He finished, I think, 3rd in Dubai after playing pretty well at the Masters as well. His tee to green, it's interesting because I was even looking at last year. He didn't hit the ball very well. He putted out of his putting was unreal last year. So that concerns me a little bit, but yeah, you said it earlier, but he's not going to Kapalua to drink Mai Tais with Patrick Cantlay, right?
No,
he's going to win the golf tournament. So I think you get a little built-in advantage there with him that maybe you don't with everybody else.
He was the guy, and he made my betting card. I just thought it was a really good value, right? I mean, when you look at it, he's 16-1, his actual winning upside. That's why he made my card, but he's not my pick to win for our purposes. And Greg, you and I have the same winner. I would like for you to tell everyone who it is.
It's Bryson DeChambeau, the mad scientist himself, just like Patrick Reed. He is not there for vacation. You can see with the umbrella. I mean, this is an experiment, right? This is they're out there he's trying to figure out, hone his craft even more, continuing to improve. And I love this is a place where he's going to be able to really air it out. He's going to be able to hit it as far as he wants, and he's going to hit some very, very long drives. I promise you that this week. But the reason I really like Bryson this week, in addition to the distance, is what he does on the greens. Last year in 2020, he was 10th strokes gained putting, but his 3-putt avoidance was extremely low. He was 38th in 3-putt avoidance. Just over 2% of the time did he 3-putt. And Rick, we talked about this yesterday. There's a lot of 3-putts around here.
Yeah.
And Bryson has this, what you wouldn't think of this golf course as a course where a scientist can succeed, because it's a Crenshaw and it's a very artistic kind of a course. You would think it's opposite, but Bryson has a very interesting way of converting the numbers and the science and the data into performance. He's able to use it to perform and just play, which I really I think is a unique skill set. And so I think the numbers really strong for him at 11-1, and I'm kind of wondering why I didn't have him on my bet card.
Most people go to Hawaii and put umbrellas in their drinks. Bryson has an umbrella guy on the green, so there you go.
Who is the umbrella? How do you get an umbrella guy? I gotta look into that.
He's got a spritzer. I mean, the list of people on his payroll is extensive.
Right, because the spritzer guy can't be the same as the umbrella. Those have to be two different guys. They're two different specialties.
For sure.
I would love to know, just like Russell Wilson revealed over $1 million he spends on his body every year, I would love to know how much Bryson spends on everything like this. Yeah, I'm not holding an umbrella for anybody unless they're paying me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That guy's getting paid.
Yeah, the 30 for 30 comes out about Bryson or whatever. Like when we get like the documentary on this guy, it's going to be absolutely great. Well said, Greg. I just kind of, I woke up Monday morning and I opened up William Hill and saw that 4 guys had shorter odds than Bryson. And I scratched my head and went, that can't be right. I mean, this guy's the defending US Open champion. He won twice after the restart. He hits it far, doesn't have to regard anything about accuracy this week. He's a great putter. I just clicked it then, and I'm still happy with it come Tuesday afternoon. So that's where I'm at as well. Greg, 1 and done. Now, to get everybody up to speed on this, Mark is currently in the lead, 3.4 million. Greg, 3.3. Kyle and I have 2.1. Jacob has 2 million. And I think we've spotted Coach $1 million. Is that how we're starting here? We're going to get you in. We're going to spot you $1 million. You got some ground to make up. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay. It's okay, because I also have guys that you can't use anymore.
That is true.
I got them all. So I'm fine with it.
That is actually a really good point, because there's a lot of guys I wish I still had. So, Coach, we'll start here with you. You are not obligated to, when we text in our picks, you can change it, but have you narrowed it down to a golfer or two who you might take this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about somebody who stacks cash at a specific course. And the guy who stacks the most cash at this course, at least the last 3 or 4 years, in my opinion, is Xander Schauffele. Because I'm not going to pick JT. I'm going to wait for JT. He's got other courses that he plays well. The one course that we know, without a shadow of a doubt, because let's remember, Xander didn't even win last year. He didn't have one win last year. So I want to take a place where he's going to make the most money for me. That course is this week.
I actually think, so that's a great point. And Greg, I don't know if we talked about this or not. We'll get your 1 and done pick here. This might be the most money for first per number of players in the field. I mean, maybe the Tour Championship, but I don't even know if we do the Tour Championship. You know what I mean? Like 42 players, I think 1.3 million. It's like you got to go get somebody who's going to win this thing. It's a good value.
Right. There, yeah, it really is a top heavy, which is kind of cool, right? They're all champions. They've all won in theory. In a normal year, they've all won. And so you're the champion of the champions. So it's cool. So I like that they that the winner has a really nice payday like that. And Xander, I think, is a great pick. Unfortunately, I used him at the U.S. Open, and so he did pretty well there. So I can't use him this week.
Right.
But the guy for me is Patrick Reed, another guy who stacks the cash here, and maybe the best horse on tour for him. And he's a big game hunter, and I think he's coming in really motivated this year. And I think you're going to see an inspired Patrick Reed kind of show us something. I think he's going to pay off this week.
You used Xander at the U.S. Open. You got 484,000, Greg. I liked Patrick Reed. I used him at the Zozo and got 142,000, so I can't use him here. I'm going with Hideki. I'll take Hideki Matsuyama, the course history. Again, I think it's a big-time year, and I think this is a really interesting way to be a little bit different because Hideki has a natural fit for one-and-dones, which is waste management, and I think a lot of people are going to use him there. I'm going to be just a little bit different and go to a place he's had a ton of success, and I'm going to take him right here. Kyle, put a bow on this for us and tell me who your one and done pick is for the Sentry Tournament of Champions.
Well, I think I might be breaking some news here. I'm going to have to self-report. I picked John Rahm twice in the fall.
You did.
Wow,
you used him at the U.S. Open. I used him at the two big boys, U.S. Open and the Masters.
Wow. What? How did we let?
What?
This spreadsheet's new. Jacob just started sharing the spreadsheet with us, so now we can
Okay.
each other.
I feel like Lane Kiffin right now.
Yeah, the self-report is strong.
I vaguely remember, this may or may not be true. I vaguely remember producer Jacob making up a rule where because the season was so long, we got to pick one guy twice. Is that?
I don't think that was ever set in stone.
No.
If we discussed that, Kyle, it was definitely after the Masters.
That was otherwise that was just an egregious mistake. Producer Jacob, can you pop in over here?
Tell us what's happening, producer Jacob.
Yeah, that was discussed, but it did not pass the player advisory council.
It was vetoed.
Okay.
The PAC did not approve that.
Okay, I'll sit out the Tournament of Champions.
Okay, so what we've done in the past, and two, we used to just text these picks in without knowing who we already picked and like trying to remember who we had. So what we had Mark do when he did this is he sat out a week. So we're gonna penalize Kyle. We're gonna put him in the penalty box. If you were gonna pick this week, Kyle, who would it be?
I would have picked Tony Finau because I'm going to pick. Otherwise, I would have picked Patrick Reed, but I'm probably going to pick him for the Open because I think he's going to win the Open this year. So I'm going Tony Finau.
So I got a rules question here. This is a serious question, and it's for the PAC, for the Player Advisory Council.
Okay.
If you take a penalty and have to sit out a week, I think you should have to put a name in. Doesn't have to be your best name. I mean, you could put any player out you want. But I think you got to put a name in there. Yeah, put Martin.
Hey,
Yeah, you take a 0 for him, but you got to use the name.
Okay, Kyle. So you can pick Richie Wierenski if you want. You can burn a golfer here.
I wouldn't burn him.
Greg is the Richie Wierenski whisperer, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I'll go Stu Sink.
This is like, I feel like it's more insulting knowing you're gonna get 0 for it. You're picking someone that you really think is gonna go bad.
I hope Sink wins. That would be awesome.
All right, Kyle's gonna burn Stuart Sink. Gets $0 for him.
He's playing as an AM this week.
Oh, so good, gentlemen. That has been the Sentry Tournament of Champions Mega Preview Pod. Live on YouTube. You can subscribe to iTunes and Stitcher, wherever else you get your podcasts. Let me thank Kyle Porter, who you can find on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. Let me thank Greg DuCharme, who you can find on Twitter at The Real GFD. Let me thank Jonathan Coachman, the coach, who you can find on Twitter at The Coach Rules. Producer Jacob is behind the glass. Great job, producer Jacob, with the Bryson DeChambeau video. That was very, very good this week. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.